Hello, everyone. Thank you all for your patience. We are here with Jennifer to talk a little bit about using imports and APIs, because who doesn't like to automate stuff? We know you do. So just a reminder, please stick around till the end of the session, and we will be launching a survey. The 3 highest rated surveys will send the presenter to BBCon in September in Seattle. So let's send Jennifer on the golden ticket to Seattle. And now pass it over to you, Jennifer. Oh, Jennifer, I think you're muted. Jennifer, I can't hear you. If anyone can hear Jennifer, and maybe it's just my system, please note that in the chat. Okay, Kyle has confirmed we're not hearing you yet, Jennifer. We can hear you now. That works. Jennifer, sorry to interrupt. People are saying that the audio is not fixed for everyone else. Let's keep trying to troubleshoot this. And while I could hear you a moment ago, not everyone else could. I can hear you now, Jennifer. Kyle, James, anything different? Nope. Okay, so they say they can hear me, but not you. Is there a backstage volume for you, Jennifer? Okay. Yep. Okay. Well, let's keep working on this, because has to be a way to fix it. Yep. So I can hear you still. Anyone else in the room? Are you able to hear Jennifer? We apologize about this. Yep, I can. And Jeannie is saying not yet. Olivia, no. Jennifer, you want to just, when in doubt, exit and come back in? Yeah, give it a try. Jennifer,
I'm on stage. There I am. I didn't push the green button. Absolutely.
there we go.
User error. This
All
is
right,
just
you did it,
proof
Jennifer.
that I am not a developer, right? what I'm showing you today can be done by everybody because, as I just demonstrated, I'm not very technically savvy. So let's go ahead and bring that PowerPoint back up. And we were going through some introductions. And I'll start with me again. I'm Jennifer Standley. I'm a solutions consultant here at Blackbaud. I specialize in Blackbaud Award Management, Financial Edge, NXT, grant making, and most recently, Razor's Edge, NXT. I was introduced to Blackbaud when I implemented Blackbaud Award Management at a school where I was a scholarship coordinator and donor liaison, and realized I really love technology, even though that doesn't look obvious today, and ended up joining the Blackbaud team, and that got me to where I'm at today. So very excited to show you everything that I have today. Jason, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
I'll keep the focus on you, Jennifer. I'm happy to be here, and let's keep rolling.
All right, you got it. So the things that I really had planned for us today were I wanted to have a little conversation about the extensibility of Blackbaud Award Management and what outcomes can be offered by using the automation that's available. So things like automating the student data import file, but it doesn't just end there. Oftentimes, student data is coming from multiple sources and not just one source. So I want to talk about how you can capture data from multiple sources to bring that into Blackbaud Award Management. And then lastly, we'll talk about the automations that can send information out of Blackbaud Award Management to create some efficiency there. When we're talking about the extensibility, there are a lot of things built into Blackbaud Award Management that allow this automation to take place. So you have the ability to import user data. That would be student data, applicant data. If you have an Excel file or if you're pulling it from a student information system, you can push it straight into Blackbaud Award Management and allow the system to start matching students. We also have the Fund Disbursement API. That's an API that exists in the system that allows you to capture award information and push it to the awarding instrument. Oftentimes that would be a student information system, but it also might be a finance system if you're just cutting checks and sending those, or other tools or other kind of tools that you need to have that award information in. There's also other imports that address the stewardship area, things like fund imports, contact imports. Also, there is some integration with Razor's Edge NXT and Financial Edge NXT there. And some of the other APIs are things like remote identities, which go ahead and create accounts for individuals that have credentials at your organization so that they can use the system as applicants, reviewers, administrators, whatever the case may be. And you can pull in awards that were made elsewhere also. So all of these things really allow you to use Blackbaud Award Management with other systems that you're running at your organization. By using these automations, some of the outcomes could be an aid in recruiting. And right now we hear a lot of talk about how there was this enrollment cliff and the tide is changing and not as many students seem to be going to school. A lot of them are putting school off or just not going to attend at all. So we need to have some kind of tool that helps us incentivize coming to school now rather than waiting. And a scholarship program is excellent for that. But there are some caveats with Blackbaud Award Management that can prevent that sometimes. So we want to talk today about how we can circumvent some of those caveats. Also, efficiency. Nobody likes to do manual data entry. I did it for years and years and years and got really good at 10 key, but it's not something I want to spend my day doing. I'd rather work with students. And then also reconciliation. Blackbaud Award Management is not meant to be your system of record. Typically, that's going to be your ERP, whether it's a student information system or another kind of system that you're using. but you do want to make sure that those systems always match up. So using these APIs and the flow of information that can go back and forth, you can ensure that your systems are always reconciling, that they always have the same data in it, and there's no question about how much a student should actually be receiving of those awards. So shifting gears a little bit, and Jason, I can't see the messages, so if there's something that pops up, just feel free to interrupt me and ask the question, whatever that might be.
You bet, Jennifer. I'll monitor the Q&A as well as the chat and jump in if necessary.
All right, thanks so much. So the first thing that we were going to chat about was automating the student data import. Now, the student data import is nothing more complicated than a flat file transfer. You can set up all of the fields that you want to pull over from your student information system or another system that's capturing this type of data, and then drop it in a repository somewhere and use a curl command that can automate the fetching of this file and pull it into Blackbaud Award Management. You can tell I just got off a Financial Edge demo, so it's sort of on my brain. But you can automate this process. You can also do manual imports, but as I said earlier, we don't want to do manual. Nobody likes doing that manual entry. So you've got some setup that you would enter into the system in order to create an import token that you can then use in the script to go ahead and set up that automation. This is something that gets done in implementation and it's tested, so you don't have to do a lot of work here. But when you're using that data import, there's a couple of ways that information gets converted into applications. The first way would be for a student to sign in and then start completing a general application. It will capture the data that was pulled over in the student import where it's resting in an S3 bucket for Amazon Web Services. And it will pick up that student's data and pull it into the application and pair it up along with any questions or answers that the student is providing as part of that application process. The problem with that is that a student has to have single sign-on credentials in order to access those applications. And oftentimes, schools are not issuing those credentials until a student has paid a deposit or given some kind of confirmation that they are going to be attending the school. So you can't really use it as a recruiting tool because you cannot match students to scholarships and make offers without the student logging into the system. That's where the Create Users Upon Import tool comes into play. This tool is only available in certain markets, so I want to put that out there. It's not available to everybody. And for those that it is available to, there is an additional fee that comes along with it for certain packages. So always talk to your account representatives in terms of whether or not you're able to add this on and what that cost would potentially be. But Create Users Upon Import will take that student data import file, and rather than just filing it away in an S3 bucket to sit there and wait for the student to come in and start working on an application, it automatically populates applications and creates an application for every student that is in that import file. Because it can create those applications automatically, the system will automatically begin to match students to awards that they qualify for. So students can be reviewed and they can get offers of an award without ever logging into Blackbaud Award Management. So in terms of recruiting, what this means is that you can extend offers for an award to students before they've committed to your school, before they have sent in a deposit, before you've ever moved their information from an admission system like a Slate or something else into the student information system so that student data is available within that student information system. So just want to call out this particular tool because this is probably one of the most powerful recruiting tools that you can have within Blackbaud Award Management. Now, I mentioned the ability to pull from multiple locations or multiple sources with that student data. And this goes back to the idea that a student's information, or an applicant's information, I should say, is not actually moved into the student information system or the ERP until the student does something to commit, and at that point they would be issued credentials. But you still want to use that information even though it exists in a different system somewhere. So what I'm going to focus on here is the ability to capture that information even when it's coming from multiple sources. I had to think on this a little bit to make sure that it was actually going to work and we could do this, but do it with automation. So let me go ahead and pop out of my slideshow and come here to Power Automate. I decided that the best way to automate this process would be to allow the Power Automate tool to combine these files that are originating from different sources. So remember I said this is just a flat file transfer. So you're able to do a call and create the Excel files with all of the data that you want out of each system that you're collecting this data in. So that could be your student information system. It could be something like Slate. Maybe you're just keeping an Access database with all of this information that came through on their admissions applications. And dropping that into a common area like a SharePoint. And then taking those files using Power Automate to merge them together and place them in a new file folder so that they can be picked up using that curl command and pull in that combined file so that it can start populating those applications, start matching to scholarships, and you can go ahead and make those award offers to help recruit your incoming student body. So if I go ahead and look in my SharePoint, I have a couple of folders already that I'll be able to use as part of my process. So I just created a Power Automate area here, and I've got my documents. Let's go ahead and open my document page. Pardon me, we'll see y'all. And what I really wanted to happen in this process is I wanted some files to merge together, and then I wanted those files that were merged to be placed in a specific area. So here I have the file, the flat file that came from my admissions system. And then I also have a flat file that came from my student information system. And I wrote my Power Automate script to combine these two files and then place those files in the done folder, which is where it will be when it gets picked up from Blackbaud Award Management to start populating. So in my Power Automate flow, the first thing I found, which really was an eye-opener for me because I haven't dabbled in AI too much, but Power Automate has a Copilot functionality here. So you can easily go in and just write something like, merge the files from SharePoint and then move another folder. So if you tell Copilot what you want to do, it thinks about it for a little bit, and then it gives you some suggested actions to build into Power Automate to make that happen. So this world of AI is really very eye-opening in terms of it allowing you to do exactly what it is you need to do. And I hope I didn't just ruin there we go. All right. So take advantage of that feature, play with that Copilot feature in Power Automate to allow you to easily automate some of these actions so that you have exactly what you need at the end of the day. Currently, most of the clients I know that are using different files are manually merging them and then having it picked up by Blackbaud Award Management. And that's not efficient. That means every day you're going in there and having to merge files if you have that pickup scheduled for every day. So automating that process can start with the recurrence, where you can say, this is how often I want you to check or do that merge. So it could be just a number of minutes, it could be hours, and it's going to check as often as you indicate it to. Another trigger that you could use is the trigger for when a file is, a new file is created or modified, and that trigger could go ahead and do this as well. The timing of the solution, in my mind, if you have the import file set to be picked up, let's say 2 a.m. every night, then maybe you want this merge to process at 1 a.m. every night. So you know that file is going to be there by 2 a.m. so that it can be picked up and pushed into Blackbaud Award Management. The next step in the process was for me to say, this is the file that I want the other file merged into. So I took my student information system import file and indicated that this is going to be my source destination for merging those files. I then am going to apply to each. It's going to pull the body or the value of the information out of the rows for the second file and push them into and merge into that first file. The important thing that you need to set up here are those different fields. Now, each file that you're pulling into SharePoint that's going to be merged together has to have the same headers on it, because if they don't have the same headers, the merge does not work very well. And those headers also need to match the headers that you are creating within Blackbaud Award Management to store that imported data for the applications. So you want to make sure that all of your headers are the same. You don't have to populate each field in the column. So if you're pulling in information that doesn't have anything in that header because it's cumulative GPA from the school and they don't have one yet. So you just need to make sure that your headers match both the files that are being merged together as well as the file that's being imported into Blackbaud Award Management. Once you have all that set up, the last command is going to tell the system what to do with this merged file. So here I've told it, once it's done, I want you to go ahead and move it into that done folder that I created, and it's going to ask you what you want to do if there's already a file there. And I've said, I just want to replace it because I only want one file there that gets picked up and goes into Blackbaud Award Management on a regular basis. So this was actually pretty easy for me to accomplish using both the Copilot, and there's lots of resources out there in terms of Power Automate, but there's courses that you can take and really learn how to build these flows into your system. Once everything is done, you can go ahead and run it, and you have the file where it needs to be in order to pick that up. Now, looking at our PowerPoint again, I want to revisit the idea of the outcomes by using this kind of automation. And when we look at that recruiting tool and being able to merge files together to pull in information, it does really open up that recruiting, because the students don't have to come in and create applications if you're using that create uses upon import. There's also the efficiency, because as I said, we automated the merging of those two files. So I didn't have to go in every single day and merge files together, so that we were able to capture all of the information that we needed to match students to the scholarships that they would qualify for. And then lastly, that reconciliation, because the information is coming over on a regular basis, you'll know that you have the most recent information about the student in Blackbaud Award Management when those awarding decisions are being made. So all of these outcomes generate just by using that import file, leveraging information from the different areas, adding on create users upon import, and making sure that everything is happening in that automated and timely fashion. One of the other APIs that I mentioned is using the fund disbursement API. And once the awards are made in Blackbaud Award Management, you can use the fund disbursement API to move awards to the student information system or the finance system. One of the really nice things about Blackbaud Award Management is it's system agnostic. So we didn't design it to work with any one student information system or any one finance system. So it's really leveraging the endpoints that you would have available in those kind of ERPs that you're using. And you can easily turn on the fund disbursement API and immediately start moving information to the student information system or the finance system. So in a nutshell, students are initially offered awards through Blackbaud Award Management, and the student can accept or decline the award, but you also have the ability as an administrator to accept on their behalf. So when it comes to those recruited students, they still potentially don't have the credentials to log in and accept an award. You can still email them from the system and let them know that the award has been offered, but you can accept it on their behalf so that it's available to be pushed into the student information system or the finance system when that time comes. If you're waiting until the student has accepted the offer or has indicated that they are going to be attending your school, then you issue them credentials. They can come in and they can immediately accept any award offers they have and submit a thank you letter or whatever that case may be, so that your workflow would indicate the student has now done everything that they're supposed to do in order to receive this award, and you can use that fund disbursement API to send the award wherever it might need to go. There is also a fund disbursement updater that will take any changes that were made in the student information system or potentially in a finance system and push them back into award management to reflect those adjustments there so that the systems always reconcile. So coming back to that outcome, here is where the reconciliation, the efficiency and the reconciliation really come into play. Because with that efficiency, no one ever has to manually enter awards in a third-party system like the student information system or the finance system. And then by using that updater, pulling the information back in, you can ensure that your systems are always going to reconcile with each other. So let's jump back into the system again and just take a look at where all of these things are located and how they work in Blackbaud Award Management. Coming into the administrator portal under Site and Settings, I have a couple of options here that address user import or import and export tools. When I go to the user import page, there is an area for that manual import. I mentioned that. Manual imports would be like if you need to do a one-off, something changed and you don't want to wait until 2 a.m. and you need to pull that in, you can do that. Otherwise, you're going to set up all of the import settings that are needed in terms of that user import. Then we'll go back to our settings and this time use our import and export tools. Some of the other imports that I mentioned can also be manually imported, like the remote identity, the disbursement updater, and the opportunity import. That is so that you can import several new scholarships at one time. But the curl command builder is really what's going to drive your connection to be able to pull these things in. So you have the token. You're going to go ahead and choose which operating system you're using, put that file path in there, and it will begin to populate. You do have to have a certificate, so you want to look for that certificate file location. And just be warned, if that certificate expires, it will break the connection, so you'll need to go in anytime that its certificate expires and you renew it, and put that new certificate location in there so that it does not break those connections with the APIs. You see that you have a curl command for each different automated import that is possible. And then if you're using an export like the Fund Disbursement API, you have your export details there, and you would also want to whitelist any IP addresses that go to the system that you're sending the information to. We do have full documentation within Blackbaud Award Management. Doesn't address the Power Automate process that I just shared with you, but it does give you great information on how you can set up all of this automation, including that fund disbursement that we chatted about. And the reason that I call this one out is it's probably the most important one that I notice a lot of clients are missing. They don't understand that they can automate it. Maybe they did something a little crazy like I did back in the day, and I implemented my system without really reaching out to the implementation specialist that was working with me. And so I didn't have any automation set up. And when I came to work for Blackbaud and realized all of this was possible, one of the first things I did was reach out to my old school and say, oh, wait a minute. We need to change things up here. We need to do some more automation so that your system is more efficient. There are examples in how you can create these APIs, as well as all of the endpoints and everything that you can use. But the reason that I'm scrolling all the way down here, and this is a really great tool for any of you that are using Banner, is that you have additional resources that we had a Banner user write for us, giving you step-by-step instructions on how to use that API when you are integrating with Banner. So you can open that up, and there's a great set of instructions that tells you step-by-step everything that you need to do in order to use that API to send your information from Blackbaud Award Management directly to, in this case, Banner, but really you can send it anywhere that accepts APIs in order to capture those awards in a different system. Oh, and Jason says supporting your old school, ensuring the Automagic is love. Yep. And all of this really came out of me thinking about ways to help schools identify students that meet the criteria for the awards without students having to do anything. Because that's really the way I think we're moving in terms of recruitment. You need to be able to make them offers of scholarships to entice them to come to your school. But because of the single sign-on and the inability for students to receive their credentials before they commit to the school, which they may not commit until they get some kind of an offer, then being able to use the system and that create users upon import to match can be really beneficial. Thanks, Randy. Yep, Randy gives me the 100%. And I hope that this was helpful to somebody. There is a lot more we can explore here in terms of setting up the system for recruiting, but a couple of notes that I have going forward. You can absolutely leverage more than one import file to pull information in. So when you're storing information in different places, not an issue. We'll just use Power Automate. We'll merge that file together and then pull it into Blackbaud Award Management. The second thing is around recruiting. There was a little bit of a hiccup with the Department of Education and the FAFSA this year. So I'm certain that many schools are struggling because they've not been able to really be accurate in terms of financial aid packages that students are receiving. So students don't have a lot of the information that they typically would want in order to make the decision as to where they're going to be attending school. So having this ability to get that scholarship offer out there early can really help in terms of everybody struggling to be able to give packages to their students because of the Department of Education's kind of fumble. So if you're in that position, I strongly recommend looking into the create users upon import function and possibly leveraging those files that you have living in secondary systems. So that was kind of short and sweet. I hope that some folks found some value in it. And thanks so much for coming and listening to me ramble on about some cool things that I figured out recently.
Well, thanks so much, Jennifer. Please feel free to use the Q&A feature and the Goldcast to submit any questions for Jennifer. While people do that, I have one question for you, Jennifer. Mm-hmm. Have you thought much about ways to kind of capture some metrics to look at perhaps before and after, implementing this kind of system? Like, can you see if people are accepting award packages sooner, for example, or are there ways that anyone evaluating this, might also think of how can we capture some hard metrics to talk about the value of this kind of a setup?
Yeah, so I definitely think it's possible to capture those metrics. They wouldn't all be metrics, I think, that live within Blackbaud Award Management. But I think if before you implemented create users upon import and were able to do some of that automated matching and offers without students creating an application, grab those metrics and then implement it. And then in the next year, you can compare, do we have people committing earlier than they had in the past? So looking at those commit dates. Or if you want to see if the numbers of people who accept your scholarships are increasing because they're getting earlier offers, or they're getting matched with more things because you're able to pull that information over earlier and create the applications. So there's definitely data that you can pull in order to show an ROI by adding that create users tool to increase the ability to do some recruiting.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions for Jennifer about the content of what she's just presented? And again, feel free to use the Q&A feature or use the chat feature if you have a question you'd like to put it there.
All right.
Okay. Well, I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I will initiate the survey. Please stick around and fill out the survey. Again, the highest rated presentations, the top 3, will get a golden ticket to Seattle to attend BB Dev Day or BB Con in Seattle in September this year. So thank you so much, Jennifer. This was a wonderful presentation. We really appreciate you sharing it, and very insightful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay, well, have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Dev Days experiences. Okay, I'll give another minute for the survey, then I'll close it. Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a great day.